Hi everyone, in this video we're going to go over how to do a 360 car photography in 2022. The end result, once we've watched the entire video and you've built to use the app, will look like this, where we will have a interactive 360 photo where you will be able to move it around, see it from different angles. We'll automatically assign the hotspots as you go through the photography process. And you can also do an interior panoramic photo added to the virtual tour, which will look like this. You will be able to move around the interior panoramic photo and be able to see and interact with the hotspot that will automatically assign. So without further ado, let's get started. So to do that 360 photography, the only items you need is a smartphone to do the exterior. So with just a smartphone, you will be able to create something like this, where you can move around, see it from different angles and interact with the hotspots. And you can also add interior photos and have a complete virtual tour, but you will not be able to have the panoramic photo. So just the smartphone will give you the interactive photo of the exterior, as well as the overall virtual tour of the car. If you wish to add the panoramic view, which is like this, where you can also move around inside the car and see it from different angles, you would need a panoramic camera and a monopod as an additional hardware. So what we do recommend is a Ricoh brand and the Theta family. You can find a S like Sam, C like Charlie 2, SC2, which is the lowest model and should cost, depends on what country you're at, around $150 to $200 US, and goes all the way up to the Theta Z1 or Z1, which at the time of recording this is the most expensive one, around $1,000. Or you could also use Theta X, which is the most the newer model in 2022, and I believe costs around $700. So the more money you invest in this matter, we do recommend that, because it will offer you a higher resolution and a better quality photo, which for a one-time investment is definitely worth it. You also need a monopod. The monopod role would be to lift the height so you could connect it to the monopod and get it to the same eye level as somebody would sit in the car when we're doing the interior car. So that's it. In some cases, you might need a gimbal, which would be something like this. It will help you to create more stabilization. We do use AI to add auto scaling and auto alignment, and also reverse any movements of hand. And we always recommend just to use the smartphone and see what the result is. If you're happy with the result, obviously you don't need any additional hardware. But if you see shifting and movements of the car as you go walk around it, we do recommend to fix that. You would need to use a hardware like a gimbal, like this one. What we do recommend is Osmo DJI Osmo 4. Or something better in the brand that will help you guys have a much better, smoother result. But again, with just in a smartphone, you should be able to have a complete virtual tour. So without further ado, let's get to how to do it. So when you open the app, the first screen will show you a tutorial video, which we do recommend you guys watch it, or if you're watching, probably it's going to be the same video, or you could skip it. So I will go over very quickly. This is the main screen that shows all the cars you have. If you click on more, it will go over what we call general settings. In the general settings is where you can have a specific features set up. For example, capture settings, theme settings, background settings, gallery settings, filter settings, condition report, and fields and spec. Each fields we will go over with a much more detail in separate videos, and I'll make sure to put the links in the description, as well as try to put cards around this video as we move forward. So you guys need to jump to any of these specific tutorials, you will be able to learn more about it. But in general, this section of our platform will let you customize the app and make it branded to you. In terms of what photos you want to capture from exterior, what photos you want to capture interior, what color and icon shape the hotspots has to be, adding watermark to your platforms, or being able to add damages and record them. They're all, you can turn them on and off, depends on what the standard you would like to have for your dealership. So once you click on plus, it would ask for your permission to access your camera, and then we'll click automotive. The first, it will ask you to go review automotive setting to be able to the setups, but you could also go back and that will take you to the VIN capture. The VIN capture, you basically have to capture the VIN number. So as long as you just take it close to the VIN number, it will automatically show you the VIN number. It will also show you the actual number and the photo it captures. And the goal is to make sure that if you guys want to double check to make sure the VIN number is correct, you will be able to use this. This VIN number will be eventually used to sync all the photos into your inventory management, into your website, or help you identify what exactly car it is in case you have multiple cars that look exactly the same. When we click on next, our VIN deciphering and VIN decoding will go through and capture as much information as it can to our VIN decipher system, and here you will get the ability to add a little bit more information. If you're just using our platform for photography, then you wouldn't really need many of these information, but it still would be good to have a general sense of what this car is so that you can always come back to it. The next screen is where you choose what kind of car type is. For this case, it is SUV, so we select SUV. It will show you the outline, and it will show you where it would recommend for you to start. So we're going to go over this screen because this one is the most important section that you will be working with it quite a bit. So on the top right, you have the actual lens that you will be using. If you notice, it is set up on an ultra wide, but based on what phone you're using, you will have different options. We do recommend to have a dedicated phone, and we do recommend iPhone brands. And typically anything iPhone 11 or higher that will give you an ultra wide angle would be recommended, especially if you don't have enough space. So right now my space is about, I would say, 3 steps with the ultra wide angle on this iPhone 12 Pro Max. But depends on what phone you have or whether it's Android or other brands, this number might be different for you. The advantage of having an ultra wide lens is that will let you get close. So you need a much less space walking around the car. However, because it is an ultra wide angle, as if you notice, as you go to the edges, you will be able to see a huge perspective look. So it is important to always have the distance as much as you can as you're using ultra wide angle, or try to switch it with a wide angle or tele lens if that's the option you have, depends on Android or iOS. And for this, you would need a further distance from the car, but this makes sure that you don't end up with that perspective look. So for this tutorial, we're gonna keep our ultra wide angle. The second thing, the top on the left side, we have the type car, which if for any reason you had a mistaken the choice, you could basically correct that. On the middle top, you will see the direction that once you start capturing, that's the direction you have to move. The green outline will show you where you want to line up. It doesn't have to be 100% exactly lined up, as long as you have it around the same area would be enough. And as we walk around, it is really the same thing. It doesn't have to be exactly lined up where you see an outline, but we just generally show you to give you an idea where you have to be. On the lower left side, we have the car. The green circle shows your relation, your location to the car. It will help you to track it. And on the second button from the top is, and as well as the brightness, the ISO and the shutter speed are the one that helps you adjust the amount of light, colors as you would like to walk around. So the ISO is basically the brightness. You increase it, you will get more brightness, but you technically want to have this as low as possible. The shutter speed means how fast it's going to take the photos, because we are using photo capturing technique to increase the quality. So what we would recommend is to see which one would work better for you. So in this case, I'll use 250. It still seems to be that we could go to 150, and I'll put it 150 and it looks good. And if I needed to make it lighter, I could go here, or vice versa, change that to a different number. So everything seems good to me right now. If you're doing an indoor, probably this number will be more around 190 because you have less light. But if you have in a day like today, it's really a sunny day, so this number could go 1 to 500 or 1 to 750. So sort of the higher number it is, the faster it's going to close shutter. That means the less amount of light coming in. But you could really practice and you will get a hand of it very quickly. And typically you would be doing your photography in the same spot. So once you set this up, the next time that you do the capture, it will really follow the same instruction. So now that everything is ready, I will just hold this here. You're going to use your hands as a gimbal. That the goal is to stabilize the phone so that it doesn't tilt a lot. Obviously, we are doing some adjustments automatically, but the better the first capture is, the better the end result will be. So as you walk around, there are a few things. Try to get it as horizontal as possible. We do have guidelines that if you tilt the phone too much, we'll be showing you and we'll be giving you warnings. But the best is to try to have it this and try to not to have the car come out of the green squares and the green rectangle. So with that said, I will just click capture. So it gives me 3, 2, 1 warning. I'm ready to go, and then I will start walking around. So as you see, my goal is to try to keep the car somewhat on center in the square or in the center of the screen, and try to keep the phone steady. It is okay, it doesn't have to be the exact size. And as you walk around it, try to keep it on center. As you see here, try to keep it horizontal and level. Again, you don't have to exactly follow. At the end of the day, as long as you have it in the screen, we can process it and automatically fix everything else. But we do recommend try to do the capture as best as you can. So once you go back to your original spot, it will automatically stop the capture. So it will detect that you have done a complete turn and it will stop. So here you will be able to have a view. So see a sort of demo to make sure everything seems okay. And really what you want to check in this screen is that to make sure you have the entire car in this screen. So if you have part of that out of the screen, you could always come back to the lower left here and retake it, or if it is good in this case, seems okay, we'll say okay. So next it will take us to the exterior photos. In here, as you see on the top, we have different stages that we will walk through you or your staff or the person that is in charge of photography. And really, once all the setup is done in the automotive setting, in the general setting, that I am putting a separate video that will go over in detail how you can create your own company, your own dealership standard here somewhere in this page. Or if you can't find it here in the description, we're going to put a section that goes in details over automotive setting and general settings and how you could make it branded to your company. So we start the exterior photos. Based on what we set up in the template, now will tell us in the middle, you have the sort of a thumbnail of what you need to capture. Lower to that is what is the name of that. The exterior 1 out of 4 means basically we're going to have total 4 photos of exterior. And on the lower left, you can go back to the previous photos or go to next. Let's say if we don't want to capture this, we can go to the next. On the top right, it shows the lens that we're using for this wide angle. And in the setting, you can again set it for default so that every time that you get to this photo, it's going to be on that specific lens. You could zoom in if needed. Or you could adjust the brightness if you need to, but we typically, you would leave these automatically. Really, the goal is that once these are set up by the management, the job of the technician or the person that is doing photography would be really just point and shoot. They don't need to make any adjustments or they don't have to make any decisions. They just move forward. So here I'll have driver's side open door. So we do that photo. So one of the very good features that we have is multiple aspect ratio. So based on what standard you have with your website or the company that you're working with, you will be able to choose different aspect ratios. And we would crop and have it ready based on that. I'll submit it to your inventory management. There we go, just to show you. This one is good, so I'm going to go next. So we'll take this. Next. I'll have the open hood. So here I want to capture the entire engine, so I'm going to use an ultra wide angle. And because I have a mix of shadows, I'm going to light it up again a little bit. And this is the engine. It's a little bit too light, so I'm going to take this back. And there you go. Next. Now we'll do the trunk. So now that I'm done with the exterior, the process starts where I have to do panoramic photos, which is for that interactive 360 photo, like this one. So the idea of panoramic photos is that you create a sort of interior virtual tour as well, interior panoramic photo. If you don't have the panoramic photo, or for any reason you would like to skip this part, you easily can say skip panoramic, or you could just turn it off in the setting and it wouldn't even prompt. But since we are going through this video tutorial and this is a popular feature, we're going to go over that as well. So for panoramic, you need these two items, which is a 360 panoramic camera. While we do recommend Ricoh, you can use any other brand as well. The difference is that we don't have a direct connectivity at the time of recording video, even though that our goal is to really add other brands as well, so you could directly use them through app. If you do not have this camera and you have other 360 panoramic camera, you could use the app that comes with the camera, capture a interior panoramic view, and as I will show you later on, you could basically import that. So if you have any other camera than this, no worries, we'll show you how to use it. So the way I would do, I will turn on this. If you purchase a camera, let's say you buy it from a used, we always want to make sure, go through the website of the Ricoh. We will try to put a link here for you, and make sure you connect that to the computer, and make sure you update the firmware. Like any software that comes with your phone, any hardware would also have a software, we'll call it firmware, and you want to make sure that you always have the most updated firmware that goes with this camera. Even if you buy it recently, most likely you will have a update that you will be able to use, and it'll give you a lot more features, a much better quality of the image if you have updated firmware. So once I have this, I will turn this on. When you turn this on, it will basically start blinking the blue light, which means it is ready to sync. So I will say start panoramic here on the phone. Here, it will ask you connect to the devices on the local network. I'll go to the Wi-Fi, and here, based on what yours is going to be a different number, but it will typically show you a Theta version that will connect to the Wi-Fi. So now it is connecting. The check mark beside it means it is connected to the phone. And now we can go back to Glow 3D and just click on reconnect. And then it's going to actually connect it to this. Very easy. So what is important when you want to use this to place it in, as you can see in your Glow 3D app, you can see the view, the 360 view of the phone. So this is always the back, where you see the button is the back, and then the front where the brand is typically on the front. So you want to make sure it's plumb. You want to extend your monopod, and the best spot that you want to put it in is typically somewhere in the middle console. And typically you want the height to be the eyesight, so that it would give the same view as if somebody's sitting behind the wheel. So I'll design it at this. Let's say if you're doing a minivan, you might have to put it at the floor at the back and raise it taller. But again, the goal really is to try this and have it in the eyesight that gives you the best view overall. So I'm going to put this up here. I will keep the height, and I try to make it as plumb as possible. So if you look at it in this screen, I'll try to make it somewhat on center. And once I'm satisfied with the result, I'll close the door, both doors obviously. And you want to be somewhat in a blind side, even though that we do have a AI technology that removes the background from the panoramic photo, so we'll make it white, but it's still, we do recommend just to be on a safe side, just to be here. So once you're happy with the result, you click capture. It goes through the process of capturing. And sometimes it takes longer, depends on how fast your computer is or your phone is and how fast your camera is. It will take a little bit longer, but this is a very, very important steps that it will help us to place all the hotspots correctly. And what you want to do is to really zoom in so that the steering wheel gets to the correct spot. The steering wheel in terms of the scale, so you have to zoom it in or zoom it out or move it around. The idea is that you have the steering wheel, sort of the circle, perfectly fit on the guideline, and you also have the middle console here somewhat correct. So this, even though that is not 100%, it is a good enough result. And then I'll go next. If you have multiple panoramic photos, which is one of the features that our platform permits, you can use it, for example, for 8-seater or minivan, to also capture another panoramic photo from the rear seat. Or for example, if you're, for whatever reason, you guys like to have undercarriage, you will be able to add those panoramic photos as well. But for this video, we want to really stick with the sort of the main features and what we would like to use so that it doesn't drag very long. We do have separate videos. We'll put a card somewhere here, as well as in the description, a link that will take you guys where you want to capture multiple panoramic photos in a 360 photo. So then we're going to interior photos based on what we really selected in our automotive setting. Here it shows entertainment center. So I'll go through that. The default lens that I selected is a tele lens. So here, so this looks very close. So I'm gonna change that to wide, and then I know later on I can go to my settings and do that. So I'll just capture the entertainment center. We do recommend you turn on the entertainment center, you will see, but those are really photography tips more than a 360 photo, so we'll leave it to you guys to decide how you would like to do. So we have a push button to start as an option here for the next photo. Next, instrument cluster. So this retake. So it is good that this happened here. One of the things is important to make sure the steering wheel is not like this. It is sort of in a straight. And the reason is that as we allocate the hotspot, it is important that we have this so that the hotspot plays correctly. And the other thing is that when you want to, let's say, capture here the instrument cluster, obviously you can't do it properly. So we're gonna fix this. So you want to have this really fixed before you even do the panoramic photos, because then you will have the hotspot in the interior done correctly as well. We're not going to go back to that, so let's take the instrument cluster. Yeah, steering wheel controls. So headlight switch. Driver seat comforts. So some cars have the driver seat comfort on the side of the driver seat, and then some will have them on the door, which we have both of these items. And obviously for this case, because it is already here, we're going to skip this one. And then we have driver open door. Again, so all of these, you could really set them up so that you only do it once in the setting on your onboarding process, and then everything else will happen automatically and you guys don't need to take any actions. So I'm going to use an ultra wide here. Passenger door. So now that we're done with the interior photography, this next step would be to do condition reports. We're not going to cover that in this video, but we'll put a card here as well as a link in the description that will go into details of how you could document the scratches and damages if you wish to do so. We're going to skip for now. If this is something that you're not going to use for your dealership or through the photography process, if you're doing it for a client, you could turn these off. Everything that I'm going to explain from now on, you could turn them off so that it doesn't even prompt them, and it will directly skip to the next stage. Feature report is where you guys can document features such as Bluetooth, navigation, leather seat, and we're going to skip in this part. And now we get to the last screen, which the first on the top, it shows the privacy of the photo, whether it is private or public. If it is private, it means it's not going to get synced anywhere. It's private. It's for you guys to review it, make sure the virtual tour is ready to go, and once it's ready to go, you could always change the privacy at the later on. at a later time. If you would like to immediately get it published, let's say use the platform, you're very comfortable, you don't want to really add a quality control stage, you would like to save time. As our platform, the big advantage is that it has no post-processing. So basically, once we're done here, this is screen and we'll click save, it's done. If all the settings and integration is done, it will automatically get synced to inventory management. It will automatically show up at your website. So if you would like to save time, you could do it public. This is what we're gonna do. And our default is a virtual turntable and auto alignment. So the virtual turntable will basically removes the background, puts it in a virtual turntable. So at the later stage, we're going to go over how you can change the background and come up with the new backgrounds through web. You can also do it through automotive setting. But for now, everything looks good, and I'm going to click save. So once I click save, as you see here, it will start the process. So the first 60%, around 60%, is happening on the device, which is basically going through the process of collecting good quality images, putting together all the information, all the photos, resizing them to what your preferred aspect ratio is, and getting it ready so you can get synced to your inventory management. From around 60% is where it starts uploading. So as you can see, it is important, especially if you're using iPhone, it is important to have the screen open, the app open. So if your iPhone is already set on turning off automatically, you can go to setting on iPhone, go search for lock and auto lock. So right now, because it doesn't let me change it here, but you need to go and change it into never auto lock, so that when you're done with the photography, and let's say you have gone through 10, 20, 30 cars for that day, all you have to do is just plug it in, make sure that you're back connected into internet, and just leave it there. The next day you're coming, all the uploads will happen one by one. You could immediately start the next capture. You don't have to wait for this upload to be complete. And the next day, everything is uploaded. And if it's already public, everything will be published. And there is no other step to do. Now, we will go over the desktop screen to tell you where you can see it, how you could interact with it, and go to the next step. Thank you.